Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our final session this year of our Tuesdays Tomorrow, our Building Bridges to Post-Secondary Success. I am Dr. Scott McClanahan. I'm the Director of Advanced Academics for Waco ISD, and I'm glad to have you all here tonight. Tonight, our goal is to remind our seniors of the lessons that they have learned thus far in their education that will allow them to have a successful experience in college. We're going to review the lessons that we've learned through the other sessions this year, and then we're going to have some other people come up and offer their own perspectives and lessons that they have learned or wish they had learned before they went to college. So our essential questions tonight are, what have we learned in previous sessions that can aid your success? What are the lessons that you have learned that will increase your chances of success? And what lessons have others mentioned that you will want to remember to increase your chances for success? And then finally, where can you turn to for help? So, what have we learned throughout the other sessions this year? Well, a few valuable pieces of information come to mind. The first one is that college coursework requires many skills that you might not currently utilize. What we find is that even our highest students have found schooling fairly easy. They don't have to spend a lot of time studying. Things kind of come naturally to them. But when they get into the college atmosphere, which is much more competitive, where every student is at their level, things become a little harder and students start to struggle. And that's to be expected. So what we want to make sure is that students know what to do should that occurrence happen. While students are primarily responsible for their college success, parents can offer pivotal support. So, we want to make sure that we keep parents involved, which is why these are parent-student sessions, because parents are an important part in the college experience, and I'm not just talking about money. It has to do with the questions that they ask and the way that they stay involved. It really does help students to stay on the right path toward a degree. Getting into college is only the first hurdle. Staying there and experiencing success is the next hurdle that you must overcome. And I'll tell you, I've had a number of students that I thought were very competent, they were very highly qualified, that have gone away to college and not understood the amount of attention that their schoolwork took or how to balance different parts of their lives, and what that resulted in is them ending up on suspension from the university, and we don't want students to face those kind of things. We want them to make sure that they approach that first semester of college with the same seriousness that they did putting their application together to get in there. Dual credit and AP courses offer a good taste of college rigor, but college classrooms will be filled with students who have all completed those type of courses. Therefore, students must keep themselves competitive. Many of our students will apply to college and not apply to a specific program. And once they finish a certain number of hours, they will have to apply to their major. And the grades that those students hold and the grade point average that they have at that point is especially important for whether or not that major is actually going to invite them in. And so getting there and staying there is one thing, but making sure that the grades show a good picture and offer many opportunities, that's another thing that students have to keep in mind. Applying for financial aid and scholarships is not a one-time occurrence. Too many times students think, oh, I did my FAFSA. And they don't realize that that is a yearly event that takes place. Because every year the FAFSA has to be filed. Every year students' financial status is reevaluated to see if they deserve more money, more scholarships from the school, more grants. And so students want to make sure that they are keeping up with those type of things. By staying successful in their coursework and keeping their grade point averages higher, students also open themselves up to many in-university scholarships that are not freshman-based. So if students show that they are competent, they keep their grades up, then they could also accrue even more support as they move through their 4 years of college. If a student decides that they want to change a major in college, they have to ensure that a new department will find them an attractive candidate. And the only way that that's going to happen is if students keep their grades moving in a positive direction. And if a student starts to struggle, every college provides help, every single one of them. Because you have to remember that colleges are ranked upon the number of students that start and finish a degree within 6 years. So every student that attritions out, everyone that transfers out, everyone that drops out, that student is a mark against them. So colleges don't want that. They want students to stay successful, so they offer lots of different support services. Just at McLennan Community College, they have an academic assistance center that students can go in, the Academic Success Center. Students can go in, they can get private tutorials, they have study rooms, they have computers that students can use that have computer-based tutorials on them. They can send papers over there to work with somebody on a paper for a class. They have success coaches, they have advisors. There are a multitude of services. And the larger the college, the more services that they typically provide. But the problem is that students cannot wait until they have fallen off the cliff before they decide they need help. So students want to make sure that they seek out those interventions as soon as they realize that there is a problem. All right, so we each are going to share some lessons that we learned and wish that we had learned before we went to college or when we went to college, so that you understand that, we were facing the same kind of problems. We didn't know everything, and, we made our mistakes as well. So I'm the director of advanced academics. I have a doctorate in educational leadership and policy studies. And the lessons that I learned in high school that I found that were the most helpful were, first, ask questions. Teachers are there to help. Even the teachers that seem the most intimidating, that seem the most aloof, they are in the education profession for a reason. They are there to help. And if a student approaches them with a sincere and earnest desire to know information, teachers respond extremely well to that. What they don't respond well to are students that sit silently, that do not participate, that never ask questions, that fail, and then get to the point at the end of the semester where they're almost determined that they're going to fail, and then go to a professor and say, hey, what can I do? Students, ask your teachers questions. Second thing, find friends with whom you can study. Study groups are a powerful thing. When you have that motivation from other people and they are pushing you toward a goal and they're keeping you focused, it is a really positive interaction that helps you to learn more, and you actually find out that when you have to explain things to other people, that you understand them better yourself. And so it's a really good idea, and it was something that I was glad that I did in high school, because when I went to college, that was one of the things that I found that really kept me on a good track. Now, things that I wish that I had known: just because attendance is optional doesn't mean you shouldn't attend. Unlike high school, where you lose credit for a class if you don't attend so many classes, in college, it is much more free. There are some professors that will tell you at the beginning of the semester they're not taking attendance and they don't care if you come to class. That doesn't mean don't come. It's especially, attractive if it's an 8 o'clock class to say, I need an extra hour of sleep, as Ashley shakes her head, yes, over here. But if you've signed up for the class, you really want to make your best effort to keep your attendance at least 90% or higher. Because when you're not there, you're missing material, you're missing questions that other students are asking that you probably have as well, that aid in your understanding and are going to eventually help you get a better grade. And then the second thing, colleges want you to be successful. As I said, ultimately, you staying there and graduating, that is a positive point for them. And so they want to make sure that that happens. So, if I would have known how many things were at my college that would have been there to help me, I certainly would have taken much more advantage of them. And so remember, they want you to be successful, and that means that there are services available that can help you to stay successful. Okay, so next up is going to be Miss Ashley Duncan, who's the Assistant Director of Advanced Academics.
Good evening. So lessons learned in high school that helped me. Easy is not always better. I had teachers in high school that the class was a breeze. It was kind of a joke, but I paid for that when I got to college. The easy class is not always the better class. Don't choose your teachers because the class before you told you that they were an easy A. And just because a teacher is popular does not mean that the class offers the best preparation for you. Lessons that I wish I had learned before beginning college: get as involved as you can as possible. That doesn't mean a sorority or a fraternity. There are organizations on campus. Find somewhere where you fit. A little bit about me. My first semester, I went off to what is now Texas State. It was Southwest Texas at the time. And after my first semester, I came home because I did not find a group of people that helped me feel like I belonged there. I came home every weekend to my parents, and I never really lived the college life. And so I felt it was easier just to come home. I wasn't invested in the school. Find something, a church group, a study group. There's lots of activities. You have student centers there for you to help you find your group. And don't bite off more than you chew. I walked in my freshman year with a plan of how I was going to graduate in 3.5 years, and I was going to sign up for 18 hours every semester and work and try and have a social life and somewhere in there sleep. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't take all core classes all at the same time. Throw a class in there that you know is going to be of high interest for you, or that physical education credit that you need. You know, they offer bowling for physical activity if you need it. Make it enjoyable, but make it doable for you as well.
Hi, I'm Brittany Davis. I'm the academic advisor at University High School. I have a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in global e-learning. And some things I learned in high school is that there is a purpose in every pathway. I wasn't exactly the cookie cutter grade A high school student. I was dismal. My grades were atrocious, and I just wasn't engaged. I wasn't challenged. And it wasn't until college where things started to click for me, and I found kind of where I was supposed to be and the things that I was interested in. I was finally challenged enough that I was, above and beyond the expectation that was set for me. Some things that I wish I would have learned in college is to take advantage of student services. Prior to working at university, I worked in a college for 8 years, and there is tons of opportunities for students, like Scott touched on earlier. The writing centers, the tutoring, you're already paying for it. When I was a student, I thought, well, I don't want to ask for help. I don't want to inconvenience someone. They're taking that out of our tuition every semester. You're already paying for it. And those services are so underutilized that you end up getting a lot of one-on-one attention. And so that's really the place to go and have your essays checked. Go and get some tutoring. And then secondly, I would like to add that take advantage of the scholarships. When I worked at the last college I worked at, we had 200 students apply for scholarships out of 15,000 students on campus. So guess what? All 200 got a scholarship, and it's one essay, one page. So every semester, every year that you're in school, take advantage of those student services, take advantage of the scholarships that are offered, because chances are you're one of a very small few number of students who are taking advantage of those.
Hi everyone, my name is Shantae Read. I am the College and Career Readiness Counselor at Waco High. And I did my undergraduate at University of Texas at Arlington, where I received a degree in communications as well as in business. And then I did my graduate studies at University of San Francisco, where I received my master's in organizational leadership, specifically focused on higher education. I have to think back to what was really some of the lessons I learned in high school, and certainly what are some of those things that I wish I had learned. And so I had a few things I wanted to share with you. So what I realized that in high school that was really important for me was connecting with my high school counselor consistently. And I know where we have a lot of students in their senior year, we as counselors are constantly saying, are you meeting with your counselors? Are you meeting with your counselors? The reason that was certainly beneficial is because it really helped me kind of set up that idea of what it meant to transition from high school into that college setting at UT Arlington, and realized that they had counselors on that campus as well. So I made the immediate connection that my high school counselor certainly helped me kind of survive while I was in high school, and also helped me exit high school. And in fact, that same level of resources was going to be available on my college campus at UT Arlington specifically. So it was really important for me to just understand that that counseling wasn't just going to stop, that you do have college advising at that college or university of your choosing. You do have a number of resources, which I think you hear that all of us have really alluded to, that there are a number of resources that are there on that campus that's going to make sure that they provide you with the level of guidance that's going to help you while you're there. And then I was actively involved when I was in high school. And what that meant for me is I didn't want to stop. I really enjoyed getting involved in the community and being a student leader when I was in high school, and I wanted to have that same level of experience when I was in college. And as you heard Ashley say, there are a number of different student clubs and organizations at the college and universities when you're going there that you want to seek out. You want to find what best fits your interests. You see here that I put student council. I was involved with student leadership and governance when I was at UTA. And then I helped start up the National Association of Black Accountants when I was at UT Arlington. And that for me was all about continuance of what I did when I was in high school and still yet being involved when I was in college. So one of those lessons learned that I really wish I really knew before I went off to college was just simply this. It was all about how to prioritize and manage the number of classes that I was taking. I was out the gate thinking that I was ready to take 5 classes or 6 classes, which really means anywhere between 15 to 18 credit hours, and that's a lot. Right? So meeting with my college advisor and hearing what she had to say, but also just trying to continue on and be that A player that I was in high school, if you will. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's who you're going to always be while you're in college. So you want to be extra conscientious about your time management, which you hear us talk about that, but really being selective around the courses that you're taking, how many courses you're taking, and really not overdoing it and overcommitting in that first semester, even that first year. And then better study habits. You know, if you think about it, high school, some things may come natural to you, right? And so it's kind of like you can show up in the classroom in high school and things just work for you. And so what I wish I had really thought more about, or even really considered, is that the study habits that I had in high school, they really will look different when you're going off to college. In terms of how to even prepare for that math test, even how to prepare for that English paper, just understanding that the nuances in high school was going to be completely different going off to college, and just really wishing that I had a little bit more of an understanding, even prep, if you will, prior to leaving high school, and how to best prepare for those situations in college. So I'm excited to be able to share these lessons learned. I was really excited to reflect on it. And so to really be able to hear firsthand from a student that is in college right now, that graduated from university, we have Jesus that's going to come up here shortly and share kind of some firsthand experiences. So thank you, everyone.
Okay, before he comes up, I wanted to take a minute to introduce Jesus. I met Jesus 2 years ago when I came to the district, and I was working with him in AP English. And immediately, I could tell that he was highly motivated, that he was interested in what he could learn. And as I watched him over 2 years, I was pretty impressed. By the time he graduated, he had finished 8 AP classes, he had finished 11 dual credit classes, and actually, it wasn't until the end of first semester of senior year that he moved from second to first and ended up graduating as valedictorian. And he ended up getting into Bates College, which is one of the top 30 liberal arts colleges, private liberal arts colleges in the United States, which sits way up in Lewiston, Maine. And so got out of Texas and moved to the East Coast. But while he was home, I asked him to come back so that he could offer some of the things that he has found have impacted him positively and where he's been caught a little bit off balance through his first semester of college. So this is Jesus Carrera.
Hello. Like Scott said, I'm a undergraduate at Bates College. I'm a freshman, and I'm considering a double major in classics and mathematics, and these are some of the things I learned while there. One of the most important things that is involved in going to college is managing your time. And one of the ways that you can do that is by having a Google Calendar. Share that with your parents, share it with your friends. You have access to whatever you're gonna do the next day. Plan. That's one thing I really wish I was better at in high school, and something that I'm still improving at in college right now. But by just managing your time, by writing stuff down and checking it off a list, it's something as simple as that, you'll get more productive, and time, you just feel as if you have more of it. Another thing I wished I learned in high school was finish things early. No, regardless of how much time you feel you have, you really don't have a lot. There's only 24 hours in a day, 24 hours times 7 days a week. I don't know how many hours that is, but you only have so much time in a week. And if you just finish early, you will feel so much better. You will have less stress in your life, and you can actually do the things you want. Another important thing is knowing when to say no. I know in college right now that I've had a lot of friends that wanted me to go out with them, to go see a movie, to go eat somewhere with them. And while it's very important to socialize and, hang out with your friends, it's also very important to work on your schoolwork and your sanity. Since when you see your GPA at the end of the semester, you're gonna think, was it really worth it going to go see a $6 movie? And prioritizing your classes is also very important. At Bates, I take 4 classes, which they break it up into credits instead of a credit hour, so each class is about 3 hours long. And I certainly have a lot of easier classes than, what I'm trying to say is I have an easy class and I have a hard class. During finals week, it's a very stressful time, and managing, what class am I gonna study for is very important. I know that during my finals week this semester, I could not figure out what class I should study for. Should I be studying for my harder class, or should I be studying for my easier class? It's extremely difficult, but I remember one of my advisors, she taught me this way of prioritizing all the things I have to do in a day. And it involves breaking things down into 4 quadrants. If they can be done within a day, within a few weeks, within a few minutes, or if it's over a long period of time. And by using this, I was able to better prioritize myself. And finally, going to sleep is a very important thing. Working is very important, and studying is very important as well. But it is very difficult to study when you only have 3 hours of sleep. If you're studying more than about 3 hours at a time, you're being pretty ineffective. You should study for a short period of time and then take a short break, and then just keep on going until you get the information you need. Using your resources is also a very important thing that I learned at Bates. One of the most important things you can do is talk to your professors about your class, ask them questions, ask them how you're doing. I know that I talk to my professors a lot, but I still feel I could have talked to them more. And in the classes that I talk to my professors more, I've noticed that I've done better with them and my grades have improved. Talking to your advisors is also very important. At Bates, I have 2 advisors. One of them's for my academics, and one of them's more of a social advisor on how to get around on campus and what I can do with my career and things related to that. And I've been mainly talking with my, they're called student support advisors, and they have mentioned that talking to every one of your advisors is very important, as say if you need help deciding a class, say if you need help deciding your major, it's very important. As was mentioned earlier, going to school events is also very important. That's one of the most important things I've learned, is that networking is what your entire life is about. It's about going out there and meeting people and meeting other people through those people and hoping you can make some other connections that will lead to a better job, a better experience somewhere. I know how it was mentioned earlier to go do the things you love. If you go do the things you love and with people that are like you, then through them you can go find other people that can help you out in life. I know I'm in this social group at Bates called Latinos Unidos, and with them we sometimes meet other people who have already graduated that teach us more about what we can do once we graduate, how are we going to continue our lives after we're done. And lastly, go to class. It's very important. I know 8 a.m.s are hard. They're probably one of the hardest things I've had to wake up for this semester. But in the classes that you want to succeed in, you need to go to them. Attendance, like Dr. McClanahan said, is sometimes optional, but getting an A is also optional. Lastly, self-care is also a very important part of being a successful student. Taking a break when one is needed is something that I learned. During my finals week, I was very stressed, and I learned that by taking about an hour break and doing something fun with my friends, I was able to be more productive in studying and was able to retain more. Another thing was take naps before you do anything that's stressful. I know that in between some of my classes, I would take about a 30-minute nap just to recuperate. And on the days that I didn't, I noticed that I didn't perform as well. Also, going back to taking breaks, do something you love. You can knit, you can take a warm shower, you can go watch a movie, you can do whatever you want just to make yourself feel better in order to succeed as a student. And lastly, call your parents. I know I didn't do this enough this semester, and it's something I'm going to improve. But calling your parents will help you stay in line with your assignments, help you deal with the stress you're going to face, and that's also important to them.
All right, so you want to think about what lessons you've learned. So we've kind of told you about what we knew when we left high school and what we wish we would have known. But how can you really do a self-analysis and determine what do you know, what do you want to remember? So you want to first figure out what you have learned about you. Think about when you were successful in high school and what made that happen. Think about who helped you to be successful, and then consider where you will locate that similar type of support when you're not at home, when you're not in high school, when you're away at college. Think about what motivated you to do well and why that helped you to succeed in the first place. And so that you can remember that and seek out those same types of motivations to get you through your college courses, get you through a rough period in a semester. And then, how can you put these type of motivators and systems in place from your very first day? Again, you don't want to wait until you're barely hanging off the edge of the cliff before you start to try to formulate a plan. You want to start off on a path to success and stay on that path. Okay, so once you figured that out, then the other thing you want to consider is you want to remember when you face difficulty. What could you have done differently to have found success? Who could have offered you help if you had taken care of the problem early enough? What skills were you lacking? How could you have strengthened them so that you would have been successful? When did you fail to take action, and what would you have done differently? When would you have acted? What signal did you need to pay attention to? Why did you not succeed to your maximum potential? And then finally, how will you handle these same types of situations in the future? So doing a self-analysis like that is really helpful so that you can remind yourself of the lessons that you've garnered so that you can employ those as you move into a new situation in the college classroom. And then how can your parents aid your success? And students really want to feel like, oh, I'm going away to college. I don't need my parents anymore. I'm free of them. I don't have to worry about them. And as you've got Jesus saying, call your parents. But parents actually play, as I said at the very beginning, a really pivotal role in keeping students on the path to success. So what can parents do to aid student success? Well, the first thing that you can do is be nosy. Call at times when you know your child is supposed to be in class and see if they answer the phone. Because then you can figure out if they're actually attending. It sounds like you're invading their privacy, but like I told my 3 children, once you graduate with a degree, then your privacy starts. Until then, it's our privacy. Number 2, get your child's login information for his or her online grading platform. So whether that be Blackboard, which is what most schools use, get their login information. There is nothing wrong with being nosy, logging in and seeing how they're doing. Because then it allows you the chance to ask the right questions and to actually intervene when it becomes crucial. Encourage your child to communicate with his or her teachers and advisors to build relationships. And you can hear that we all answered those questions about what we learned and what we wish we learned separately. But you saw that that was kind of a strand that all of us picked up on, was that when we reached out to people around us and we made sure that we knew them and they knew us, that it made the entire process much easier and much more successful. Check in with your child about class experiences and course deadlines. Having a shared Google Calendar is a great venue for that. And I learned that from my boss, Dr. McDurham. She had one of her sons was taking an online course and had kind of neglected to really pay attention to the syllabus and all of the deadlines. And so after he had missed the first test, she decided that maybe they needed to put together a calendar. And so they put together a Google Calendar, and it imported right into her own personal calendar so she could see when he had deadlines coming up. And then she could easily kind of check in with him and say, oh, how's that paper going? Oh, did you turn that project in? And it's a really easy way through Google to keep up with a child and make sure that you're still giving them that little nudge towards success. Next one, help your child research scholarships throughout his or her college years. Remember, students can always add on scholarships. So like Ms. Davis said, you don't want your kid to be one of those that isn't in the 200 that's receiving the scholarship because they didn't write the one-page essay. So just keeping up, and that goes along with visit with the college financial aid officers and attend financial aid events to learn about additional funding opportunities. Not all scholarships that colleges give are for freshmen, because they know that students, once they get through freshman year, have a higher rate of actually finishing a degree. And so it is worth their money to invest in those sophomores and juniors to make sure that they stay. So you want to check that out. Number 7, help your child set priorities and reflect on successes or failures at the end of each semester. So, I unfortunately was a little negligent with this, and I had a daughter who struggled, and she really couldn't figure out what major she wanted, and I did not find this out until I signed onto her account at the end of the semester, and she had a 0.56 grade point average. So after I closed the computer and had to go to bed because I was so upset, we talked about it the next day, and I realized it was kind of my fault because I had never really checked in with her and said, how are things going? What's this class about? Well, do you like this class? And little conversations like that can really bring problems to light that a student might not even understand is occurring. So, actually ask your student at the end of every semester, why do you think you did so well in this class? Why do you think you didn't do well in this class? Because those little learning moments really help to keep a student successful. And then finally, encourage your child to contact the Student Life Office and get involved in the campus activities. And again, you heard that as a thread through, is that a student that goes to college to just go to college doesn't tend to stay because they're not connected to the campus and they don't find any joy in what they're doing. And so there really has to be a balance. I remember when I was going through my freshman orientation in college, they said, there are 3 big things that you can choose to do when you go to college. You can study, you can be social, or you can sleep, but you can only do 2 of them. And the longer I was in college, the more I realized that was correct. That you had to make choices, and sometimes the choice changes. At certain parts of the semester, I knew I needed to do more studying. At other parts of the semester, I knew that social and the things that were going on the campus were more important. So having that balance and knowing what activities are available, it's really important. Okay, so last thing, where can students find help on campus? Well, first thing, your professor. As you heard, if you talk to your professor, the professor's the first line of defense in terms of keeping yourself from getting a bad grade. Second, your fellow students. Setting up those study groups, checking in with others, especially if you're one that tends to miss class, checking in with a classmate and finding out what was going on, getting the notes, making sure you know what assignment's coming up, that's important. Your academic advisor, that is the person who is going to make sure that you know the deadlines, when to apply for your major program, and actually keeping in touch with that person and letting them know when you struggle. That person is your lifeline to all the different university services. Once you are in your major, your departmental office for your degree major can offer quite a bit. They can tell you who advanced students in that major are that you might be able to reach out to for assistance. They can tell you what professors tend to teach in certain types of styles that might be more conducive to your learning style. And so that departmental office becomes an important lifeline. And then your college's Student Assistance Center, where you can get help with writing, papers, where you can go and get individual tutoring. Sometimes they will offer it as a place to take tests. And so going to the Student Assistance Center can also be a good way to keep yourself successful. And then finally, if you don't really know where to turn or who to turn to, all you have to do is pull up your college's website, and in the search bar, at the little magnifying glass at the top of the page, type student help. And I can guarantee you that at least a dozen different places on campus will come up. as offering different types of services for different students that you can lock onto and you can actually get yourself in a good path. And so one of the things that we in Advanced Academics want you to know is that we are here to support your success even after you graduate. Last summer, all summer long, we had graduates reaching out to us so that they could do TSI testing, so that they had that testing ready to go when they got to their college and they didn't get stuck in a developmental class. We had students reaching out to help us figure out where they might get additional financial aid. We are here as a support in the district for Waco ISD students and graduates. So if we can help, then we are more than willing to help. If we know where you can get some help, we will direct you to those places. So never be afraid to reach out, because remember, in Waco ISD, students are learners today and leaders tomorrow. Thank you very much.